She hid in a small bathroom with 7 other women, fearing for her life for 91 days, while almost all of her family and 1 million of her countrymen were murdered in the Rwandan genocide. We'll hear her story tonight, so please stay with us. Thank you, and welcome. I'm Father Mitch Pacwa, and welcome to EWTN Live, our chance to bring you guests from all over the world. Before we get to our guests, I want to mention that there's a double celebration today. We celebrate, of course, with all the Franciscans around the world, the feast of St. James of the March. He was born in 1391 and lived to, especially for those days, a ripe old age of 85 years old, dying in 1476. He had been a doctor of law, canon law and civil law, but he gave up that worldly pursuit in order to preach the gospel, and he preached to thousands and converted them in his time. He was a very important figure, along with Saint Bernardine of Siena, another great Franciscan preacher of that time period. Our second celebration today is Our Lady of Kibeho. This is a shrine that is built at the site of Apparitions of the Blessed Virgin Mary at Rwanda. As a matter of fact, today they had Mass over there. They were celebrating the feast because the 28th of November, 1981, was the first day of the apparitions. So it's the Feast of Our Lady of Kibeho. And many people, not only from Rwanda, but all over Africa and in other parts of the world, celebrate this apparition, which has been approved by the Church. And that is related to our topic tonight, because our guests tonight have come together to tell the story of Our Lady of Kibeho and how her calls for the people of Rwanda to turn back to God seemingly fell on deaf ears. Please welcome the author of Our Lady of Kibeho, Immaculee Ilibagiza, and the director and producer of a new documentary entitled If Only We Had Listened, which will premiere exclusively here on EWTN right after this show. So please welcome also Mr. Sean Bloomfield. Immaculee, Sean.
Thank you,
Thank you. Welcome to both of you. I'm very glad to have you here. I want to start off with you, Sean, first, because you are producing this video, you have produced this video about Our Lady Kibeho and its connection with the genocide in Rwanda. Why did you choose this topic?
Well, in the first place, Kibeho is there's so little known about Kibeho, where it's already been approved by the Church. So many people know about Lourdes and Fatima. So few people know about Kibeho. I've spoken to even some priests from Africa who know very little, if anything, about Kibeho. I just felt it was a very important and timely message to get out into the world, especially with the way the world's going right now. It's a very timely message.
But what interested you? I mean, since nobody else knew much about it, how did you get involved?
I just came across the messages, and I really feel like I was called to do a film about Kibeho. I started out just going there kind of without Immaculee, before I even knew Immaculee. And then I wanted to, after having gone there, I came across with a documentary that was kind of more just a basic documentary, but it didn't have a very personal story.
Sure.
So I went to interview Immaculee, and we decided to produce a film together after that. And now the film, as the audience will see later, has a very personal story. And I think it helps people that are not Catholic relate to it. I felt it was important to get the message to non-Catholics instead of maybe preaching to the choir too much. We tried to make a film that would appeal to everyone and get the message out.
Sure. And I've watched it myself, and you've done a very good job.
Thank you.
But you also chose to use Immaculee as one of the presenters, sort of the main presenter of what is going on, what happened at the apparitions and afterwards. How did you first come to know something about the apparitions at Kibeho?
Well, I come from Rwanda,
Yes.
and I wrote this in my book, Our Lady of Kibeho. When I was a child, we used to play wanting to have apparitions. So the very first time it happened, my father, who was a director of Catholic schools, one time he came home and he told us, my parish priest told us that Our Lady is appearing, but they thought it was something that will just vanish away. And I believed it from the first. I was a child, I was 11 years old, and I got so attached to it. So we would go to a priest every Wednesday as children, and we would ask him, we need to hear the messages of Kibeho because they're meant for us. Yes. So I grew up with this. It had been very much my heart.
So you as a child were already fascinated with having heard that this was going on in Rwanda. And this is the first apparition in sub-Saharan Africa, correct?
Yeah, the first one actually approved by the Catholic Church in Africa. So we never heard anything like that in Africa, except hearing about Fatima.
Sure.
So all of a sudden, it took over the whole country. Every single person was talking about Kibeho.
I see.
Yeah, it was on radio, it was on TV. People didn't know what to do with this. And people would show up on the apparition day, which Our Lady would give the appointment to the visionaries, and 50,000 people will be there.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, so folks understand, because, many people don't know much about Rwanda.
Yes.
It's not an enormous country.
No.
In Africa. It's moderately sized.
It's actually the size of Maryland state.
Oh, so it's really fairly
Really
small,
small.
especially compared to some of your neighbors like Congo and Nigeria. Those are enormous countries.
Oh, Congo is 82 times Rwanda bigger, so it's huge. But somehow faith is very strong in Rwanda.
About what percentage of Rwandans are Catholic?
About 65 to 70%.
Okay, so it's a very Catholic country.
Very Catholic, yeah.
And so this is something that you became fascinated with, and your father. What was his reaction?
His first reaction was, we must pray, we're not sure, this can hurt our church. But as children, we're just like, oh, Our Lady is appearing. Right. So the whole country was just very much like, let's see what is happening. Maybe the children were crazy. So this happened in a high school.
So these were high school
yes.
People, boys or girls?
It is a high school, a boarding school of girls only.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first girl who had apparition, her name was Alphonsine Momoreke. Just like that, during the lunchtime, she's washing the dishes, and Our Lady came to her, and everyone saw her. So there's a very funny thing in Rwanda. Everybody in Rwanda has their own last name, and it has a meaning. Yes. So her last name means Momoreke, it means leave her alone. So she was very persecuted after she had the first apparitions. And now she begged Our Lady to appear to somebody else so people can believe her. And she appeared to a girl called Natalie Mukamazimaka, the last name meaning the one who settles arguments.
I see.
Yeah, so slowly miracles were happening, and my father came to believe. And everyone now was really praying hard. Our Lady started to speak about what might happen, like what happened during the genocide.
Well, tell us about that, because the apparitions began with a very strongly motherly, maternal kind of love from the Blessed Mother to the visionaries and others, right?
Yes. Oh, it was maybe that was for me the main message I took from Kibeho's apparitions. Our Lady will come and speak to the children for about 4 hours, have a conversation like a mother coming to visit. And in Rwanda, you know, I remember when they were investigating, they said, this is too long. Our Lady never stayed like this long. But in Rwanda, that's how people visit each other.
Right.
If you have a family member, you go to visit them. If you go 1 hour, it will kind of look insulting. So 4 hours is the minimum, you 3, or a whole day. So Our Lady came in that kind of way. She would ask about the family, how the school is going, and slowly she will start to give the messages. My children, I love you very much. And when she addressed to Rwanda, and this is really one of the main message, I wrote the book, and I'm so happy to be speaking about, giving Our Lady a voice of Kibeho. She said, if I am here, it does not mean that my message only concerns Rwanda, not even just Africa, but the whole world.
Okay, so she gave this message for the whole world. And part of it was also a warning. Tell about the warning.
So,
because that's the title of your video.
If only we'd listened.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And I think that what really you wanted to tell people.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of people, are kind of obsessed with the Mayan calendar and all this Nostradamus stuff. This is a real prophecy that was given by Our Lady, and 10 years later, it came true exactly like she said it would. And
what was the prophecy?
So I remember, for example, when we were a year into the apparition have started. I can remember exactly my mom going to the apparition because it was a little bit far away, and my father, and they came home, and no one was talking. So we were asking them what happened. She said, Our Lady showed the children, because nobody else can see it. They can only see the child shaking, people killing each other with machetes, halls full of dead bodies, a river of blood. And Our Lady was saying, this is going to happen to your country if you do not come back to God. But, which is again a main message I hold very dear to my heart. She said, it does not have to happen if only you listen to me, which became the title of the documentary.
So there's the sense of a warning of seeing people with machetes, a river of blood, and all this.
Yeah.
This, it's something that the Blessed Mother told the visionaries.
Showed them, actually.
Showed them.
Yeah, so during the apparition, they will be shaking, like falling down, crying and shaking. And people were scared just looking at the child.
Sure.
Crying, really screaming. She was telling Our Lady, Mother, please don't show me this. I'm not big enough to see this.
Right.
But Our Lady was telling her, if you don't listen to me, and the message God is giving me for you, the same for the whole world, this is going to happen here.
Now, 10 years after that, what happened in Rwanda?
10 years after that, a genocide started. I remember the first day I got to know about this. My brother came to my room. It was in the morning, about 6 o'clock. And he gave me the news that the president of the country have just died. I mean, for us...
He died in a plane crash.
In a plane crash.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, so long time ago, changing the power was something that was going to shake up everything. So we knew that. But when he died, I remember just in a second, my mind went back to Kibeho, when Our Lady was telling us, it's going to happen if you don't listen to me, my children. And I knew it was going to happen. And that's exactly what started from the moment the president died. It was like a signal. They have prepared it. The president was just like, how do we start this? Like 15 minutes after they killed him, they started to go home by home of people of Tutsi tribe.
Because, and so that folks understand, there were people in Rwanda were divided into 2 tribal groups.
Yes.
But were they really different ethnic groups?
They called us tribes, and we had identity cards that said who was who, but it is, from history, it is something was created by the colony.
Right.
They went-
The Belgian.
The Belgians.
Yeah,
went-
the Belgians colonized. It was sort of that used to be a German colony, and after World War I, Belgium got it as reparations,
Yes.
and then they introduced this aspect of two tribes, Tutsi and Hutu.
Exactly. So every tall people went in one tribe. Every short people went in the same tribe, to a point where among brothers and sisters, same mother, same father, some of them became one tribe, the others became the other. And from that point, they gave people identity cards. So everywhere you had to go, you had to show it. So you became a tribe because it was created.
Yeah.
So they built on that, people who took the power. If they wanted to push an idea, they would say, oh, as Hutu or as Tutsi. So it became like something like a power thing.
Yes.
However, though, the people were nice to each other. People in Rwanda are really nice. They love each other. And they never felt there were too much of different tribes. It was always at the level of the leaders who wanted to kill this tribe so that they can not share the power.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, so then after the president is killed, what happened?
They started killing everyone of Tutsi tribe. It was
Who's
prepared.
they?
That's the government. The government put announcement on radio, and they said, well, that is really how they started to blame people. As they said, Tutsis have killed our president. We're going to kill them. So they started family by family. I remember 2 hours after they have started, we heard on BBC radio saying that 18 families have been killed. Mom and dad and 10 children have just been killed. And I remember one time my father saying, this never happened before, where they kill a whole family. They will kill somebody who is involved in politics, but no children. Right. Well, that's really what became a genocide, because a genocide is the attempt to eliminate a group of people.
Right.
So slowly, the guards, the military, the police, they had a group of people they called Interahamwe, of people we went to school with, normal people. They trained to go home by home and kill. And I have to insist, not every Hutu was killing. Not even half of the Hutus were killing.
Right.
It was people who were supported by the Hutu government that were killed.
But no matter how small the number of Hutu that did the killing, it was 1 million people that died.
Yeah, because they were supported by the government. So every radio, which was not many, the radio were saying, go and kill them. So, and then the panic took over the Tutsi.
Right.
So they started to push people, like, go to stadiums, go to churches from their homes. So government will protect you. When they reach in stadiums, the soldiers will go around the edges of the stadium and throw hundreds of grenades inside. It was arranged. They will go around the churches, like they did in Kibeho, will make holes on the church and put gas and put fire and burn everyone. So it was the panic that helped everything.
Sure,
yeah.
Sure. Now, you yourself, most of your family was killed.
Yeah.
All but one brother, correct?
Yeah.
And you obviously survived. Where did you survive?
So when my brother told me what happened, and I went outside, we met my parents, they were all worried about me. I was one girl among 3 boys. Everybody wanted to see me going and be safe. So they sent me, and I left really out of obedience to my father. And I remember when I left, he handed me a rosary, the rosary beads, and that is all I took from home. So he sent me to a neighbor. He said, go there until things are okay, I will come to pick you up. That was the last time I saw my father, the last gift he ever gave me. Yeah. I went to the neighbor who was from the Hutu tribe. As I was saying, not every Hutu was killing.
Right.
So I went to him. He knew what can happen. He put me in his bathroom, 3 by 4 feet. He said, I won't even tell my children, just stay here. He went back, brought 5 women. Later, he brought 2 women. We were 8 people in 3 by 4 feet in his house. Yeah. We spent in that bathroom 3 months.
As a matter of fact, we've got a clip of that bathroom. We're going to take a look at that.
On the morning the killing began, my father gave me the rosary and told me to seek refuge. That was the last time I ever saw him alive. He and my mother were killed soon after. And even the people I knew, it was the beginning, they just look at you bad, and you knew that something have changed. And those are people who are your friends. I fled to the home of a pastor who risked his own life to hide me and 7 other Tutsi women in a tiny bathroom. Going back inside the bathroom after all these years brings back memories that will always haunt me. My leg don't even fit from the front. Look, this is how small this is. It doesn't even have a sink. 3 months, 91 days. And he put a mattress here, one simple mattress like this, so we're able to fit, at least to lie down like this, not to lie down, to sit something cushion, and then the girl will sit here, and another one will sit here, another one with the sink, and then the mattress is on the side so that even if we do like this, you can sleep. Agony. My life. 1 day, 2 days, 1 week.
So that clip is from your documentary, Sean. Mm-hmm. You went with Immaculee over to Rwanda, yes. And there you videotaped in the very bathroom where she and how many other women?
We were other 7 women. We were 8.
So 8 women altogether in that very small space. And after 91 days, you survived.
Yeah, we came out. The war was over. But everyone was killed.
Yes.
Yeah, those were left behind. I have a brother who was outside of the country that time. He's the one who's alive.
I see.
But my mom, my dad, my 2 brothers, my grandma, my grandpa, aunts, uncles, everyone was killed.
Sure.
Yeah, 1 million people.
It's unbelievable. And, over, politicians using false racial identities for their own power.
I know.
And this is the kind of warning that the Blessed Mother was giving, to pray to avoid that.
Yes, she was calling so much, love one another, be sincere to each other. Why do you hate each other, my children? And like she said, she was telling this to the whole world. She especially insisted on the prayer of the rosary. And she even taught us another prayer of the 7 sorrows rosary. So she was insisting, pray from the heart. Know that I love you. Know that I am your mother. God loves you. Jesus died for you. Take your faith seriously. But we didn't listen.
Well, see, and this is one of the things that's so important about that message, that faith in God changes us away from trying to get our own political power. And it changes us to see that everybody is a child of God. Race means nothing. Nothing.
Exactly.
It's human being. That's the race that counts.
Yes. And it is a temptation of the devil. In the end, those who killed, who were saying on TV and radio how they would have a great life after they killed their enemies, now they're in prison. Others are running in Congo. They can't come back to their homes. You see, so the promises of evil in the end is no more just suffering. Consequences we can't reverse.
Exactly. And we've seen that in country after country that uses totalitarianism, genocide, and so on. It leads to the destruction of the perpetrators. I know that you, from watching the video, that you met one of the killers of your own family. I'd like to show a clip of that and then talk to you a little bit about it.
The man who killed some of my family members, our former friend and neighbor, now makes regular visit to the house. I know he regrets what he did. He told me that he misses people he killed. He knows he can never get them back. He was released from prison when he accepted responsibility for his sins. But he tells me that prison was better because at least he felt he was paying for his wrongdoings. He said he feels very sorry for what he did, and there's a lot of consequences. There's families that they wiped out, and he looks back and he feels like he didn't have anything against them. He loves them, and he still misses them in a way. And yet he looked at himself, he remembered that he was the one who did it. So I said, if I only had a chance to go back, I would never do such a thing. Sibyibutse wumva ari imbabazi nawe
cyane rwose
Imana yaraguhaye imbabazi. He said, yeah, he's very happy about forgiveness. He's not saying too much, but he said yes, he is very happy. It's something he regrets greatly.
The message.
See, it's hard for a lot of people to understand that, oftentimes the after effect of sin is the inability of the sinner to believe he or she is forgiven. And it seemed hard for him to let your forgiveness of him sink in. It seemed, still it's trying to break through to him, but it was hard. It was obviously very hard.
It is. And for a few times, if I went to the village, he would actually run away from me.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I would call him, like, come up, So it took a little time for him to even approach.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he told him, he said, I wish I was in prison, as he just said.
Yeah.
The really consequences of sin is just bad. It's, now when I look even at my faith and the commandment of God, I just feel like this is an act of mercy of God to give us direction. It's like a father who is saying, don't touch the stove, it is hot, it will burn you, to a child.
Yeah.
So to see that, how they had all the permission to go on and do what they had to do. Now what? The people who misguided them are in prison. Some of them are dead. Now they are really living consequences, yeah.
Now, one part of the messages, too, was that Our Lady asked to pray the rosary of Our Lady of Sorrows.
Yes.
And you've written a booklet called The Rosary of Seven Sorrows.
Yes.
And want to let people know that they can get that booklet and learn to pray. A lot of people don't even know the Seven Sorrows of Our Lady.
Yes.
And they can go to www.immaculee.com and get one of these and learn to pray this for our country and other countries around the world.
Yes.
I mean, there's so much violence in so many places, so much hatred.
Yes.
And this is a way to pray down the hatred and pray up the love.
That is so true. It was, Our Lady taught it to one of the visionary, Marie Claire, who was a teenager in the high school. And as we said, it had been approved by the church. But she said this rosary existed before. People forgot.
Yes.
But she said the world needs it more than ever today.
Yes.
And she said, I want the whole world to know about this. For our own protection, our country, our families, our children. This is a powerful prayer I want to give you to remember today because of so many misguiding, misdirections happening. And she used to say, the whole world. One time the visionary said, but mother, I don't have money to take a taxi to teach people all over the world. And Our Lady said, don't worry, my child. I have many angels in the world. I have many children. They will help me. Just do your part. So as you ask people, Our Lady have really requested that she wants the world to pray this Seven Sorrows Rosary. It has 7 Hail Marys, and they have 7 sorrows, and it's really easy. It's, how when somebody have suffered for you, like your mom, when she couldn't sleep, when you were sick, how you feel like, oh, mom really loves me. That's how I remember my parents. The same as the 7 Sorrows Rosary, when I prayed, I feel like, you love me that much? You went through that? You went through that? So it's not really as suffering and oh, how horrible as some people might think. It's more like my mother knows me. She knows what I go through.
She can relate to our suffering.
Our sufferings. Yeah. And miracles have been happening. People who get pregnant who have been trying for 10 years through the intercession of the seven, of Our Lady, through the 7 Sorrows Rosary, addictions have been,
Sure.
And many sicknesses have been healed. People send me testimonies all the time.
Well, and so the people just know that the 7 sorrows include the prophecy of Simeon that a sword would pierce Our Lady's heart, also the flight into Egypt, having to leave there, also losing Jesus in the temple, that's one of them, when she meets Jesus on the way to the cross, and when Our Lady stood at the foot of the cross, and when she received the dead body of Jesus, and when Jesus is placed in the tomb. And these are things to meditate on. Now we have to take a little break. We want to get your phone calls and your comments, as well as those of our studio audience. So please stay with us. Welcome back. We have a wonderful studio audience here with us, and we would love to invite you to be part of our studio audience. If you have a chance to come down here to Birmingham, Alabama, please contact our pilgrimage department, and they will arrange for you to be able to come to some of the live programs, as well as, of course, they'll give you the schedule for the masses and directions on how to get to Hansville to go visit the sisters at the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament. The phone number for pilgrimage is 205-271-2966. 205-271-2966, or you can go online to www.ewtn.com, and they'll give you all kinds of information about places you can stay, as well as our schedule. And we'd love to have you come down here. Are you all ready for some questions?
Yes.
All right. Let's start off with a call. We have Marianne from New York. Hello, Marianne.
Hi, Father Paco. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, ma'am.
My question is for your amazing guest, Immaculee. Her story reminds me so much of Anne Frank during the Holocaust and what she had written in her diary. I still believe, in spite of everything, that people are basically good. And I just wanted to ask Immaculee, who I truly believe is such a representative of what Christ said when he was on the cross, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And how does Immaculee, day to day, not succumb to bitterness and anger and just, to say to heck with humanity. I've lived through horrors that no one has ever seen. How do you keep that brightness and that light in your eyes? And God bless you so much.
Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you so much for a beautiful comment. So you see, I had anger like everybody.
Sure.
Yeah, I went through it, but it happened when I was still in the bathroom. I wanted to be a soldier. That was what I thought about in my heart, just to go out and revenge my family. But by the time I started to pray the rosary when I was in the bathroom, and I prayed it throughout the day. I remember one time I counted how many rosaries I said. I said 27 rosaries and 40 Divine Mercy chaplet every single day. So for the 3 months I was in the bathroom, I'm praying from 6 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night to hide away from my own thoughts that were poisonous. So through that, that's when I really came to let go the anger. I'm realizing, really praying from my heart, Jesus is on the cross. He is forgiving. How? Why? So that led me to forgive. So if I understood the question well, how I keep it to today is really when I think your heart has been touched by God, by understanding, not just doing it. It is deeper, much deeper. I have compassion towards people who do wrong, who hurts people, and I still get hurt today in my life. Sure. I still live in this world. But for sure, I know I must forgive. It's freedom. It is exactly what I felt when I was able to let it go. I was a prisoner. I had this bitterness that was going through my body, and I would be sweating out of anger. I would be shaking out of anger. So when I was able to let it go, I felt so much peace. So even today, when I am almost there to feel anger, I go on my knees and pray the rosary for God to take it away, as I prayed during the genocide. Sure. I remember when I came to let it go, it felt like Jesus was telling me that it's like the world is divided in two places, a side of hate and a side of love, and we must choose where do we stand. And the side of hate, I can feel like there is Hitler, people from Rwanda who are causing the genocide, people who are revengeful, and there's a side of people like Mother Teresa, Mandela, Gandhi, people who fought for truth, no matter how much they suffered. And I feel like Jesus was asking me, where do you belong? Do you want to be like people who are killing and revenging and in the turmoil, the side of hate or the side of love? How did Mother Teresa did it? How did Mandela did it? What was their principles? So when you defend truth, you defend love, you must go all the way, no matter how much you suffer. Yeah.
Thank you. We have a question from our studio audience. Sir, where are you from?
Ohio.
And what's your question?
My question is, how much advance warning, if any, did you and your families have, that these people were coming in to kill all the relatives and your families in the villages?
So thank you for a good question. They have prepared everything. So what they did was, from the moment the president died, which I truly believe they killed him to start the whole thing, so it was like an hour later, they have blocked all the borders of the country. We couldn't move, we couldn't go out. So my parents sent me to hide on the second day, and I went in the bathroom just the following day. From that time, they were searching everywhere and killing. So we didn't have any really warning, like they would come next week. It was right away.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's, but they did seem prepared for this.
Oh, they prepared for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, for years, we used to have a radio that we used to nickname it Hate Radio. It was supposed to be private, but after the genocide, they found papers and contract that actually this radio was founded by the ministers, government ministers, the president, to spread hatred among people. And the journalists on this radio, they will be acting like they're drunk, and they will say, one day we'll kill them. They're not human beings. Look at them. They have horns, they have tails, and they will laugh. So people kind of for 2 years learned how to see us like we are not human beings.
So this was not just a spontaneous off the moment, but for a couple of years,
yeah,
they were preparing the hatred.
They prepared the hatred. They had lists of everywhere where people were living, how they would block the country. Now it is all in open. It was well prepared. But for us, you just didn't know, how can that happen? I mean, Our Lady told us it was coming.
Right.
So we knew how horrible it will be, but it's like you don't get how, maybe in 20 years, maybe in 100 years. So you couldn't really accept that it's coming.
See, and this is something that's very important lesson. People have to learn again and again. When that kind of hatred starts against a group, for instance, in our country or in Europe, it's been sometimes against African Americans, sometimes against Jews, sometimes against Catholics, and so on. And we have to say this is not acceptable and stand up to it early and not let it become a snowball.
That is so true. That's exactly what we have to do. And I think individually, to avoid all this to even happen between tribes, race, and religions, we must start individually.
Yes.
When you start having a problem with your friend or look at them below, really kind of hit yourself, hey, this is a human being like me. God made them. So
See, and that's the core of racism,
Yeah.
which is to always say these are subhuman creatures, and therefore it's okay to kill them because they're not really human. That's what they did to the Tutsi.
That's what they did. They called us cockroaches, snakes. It's just to be able to kill, yeah.
Right. We have another caller. Hello, Patricia.
Hi.
Hi, where are you from?
Hello?
Yeah, hello, where are you from?
Detroit, Michigan.
Great. And what's your question?
My question is to the Immaculate, and I'm just want to say that I thank her for being so brave to come tell her story. But I would like to know, did the United States or the United Nations or even the Brits ever offer any type of apology or ever give any type of accountability reasons for why they did not step in to aid the Rwandans and offer them security or help in this terrible, terrible massacre?
Thank you. That's a great question.
Thank you so much. A good question. So I know for sure Clinton have come, who was the president at the time of the genocide, have come to Rwanda many times. And the first or second, he apologized publicly.
Yes.
And I know Kofi Annan did the same. And of course, the apology doesn't hit home easy because 1 million people is gone. Right. However, though, I do appreciate personally, very much so. Yeah. I mean, they didn't kill us. We killed each other. So we take responsibility in that way. But still, you wish the world that seemed to work so much together, that could be there to help each other. And really, I mean, we are one family. We are one people under God.
I've actually heard on television President Clinton also saying that was the greatest regret of his presidency, that he just didn't step in, he didn't see at the time how vast it was, and that was a strong regret that he felt.
That's true, yeah, definitely.
We have another question from our studio audience. Sir, where are you from?
From Texas, Father.
And good to have you here. And what's your question?
Well, the first two I was scooped by your radio callers. I think I know you answered the first one. How could you possibly forgive this guy? And then you whipped out Mary's sword, which when my wife wants to pray, she pulls out her rosary. I says Mary's sword. And so that's how you did that. The second one had to do with the United Nations. Has there been any change that you see because of this, where the United Nations is going to take different action to prevent this from happening?
A very good question. No, I have not seen any changes with United Nations. I wish I can see, and the same people in Rwanda still feel the same way.
Ask the people in Darfur.
Exactly.
In Sudan.
In Congo.
In Congo.
Yeah.
You know, no one is going there to stop the slaughter. You know, and in Darfur, for instance, it's Arab Muslims attacking blacks who are Muslim.
Yeah.
It's very racist. They just simply want to take their stuff.
That's true.
And nobody stops it.
No.
You know? So the answer is definitely no.
No, yeah.
We have another caller. Hello, Bernice? Hello, Bernice? You there? I don't think we have her. I think we lost Bernice. All right, well, let's get, until we see, maybe we can get her back. We'll have another question from our studio audience. Ma'am, where are you from?
Ohio.
And what's your question?
First of all, your great faith is just so wonderful, and it's really helped you, and your care for people is enormous. And I was wondering if the 7 ladies who were in the bathroom with you for all that time are a part of your mission.
Oh, good question. Well, they live in Rwanda. We are all in different, completely, situations. I meet them, and some of them actually have asked me, like, "What? You forgave? What's wrong with you?" So we completely in different, places. We never spoke for 3 months. So it's like now we are building a relationship because now we can talk.
When you were in the bathroom,
we never spoke for 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. We were hiding. People were coming outside. The family of the man didn't know we were there. He told us, don't even flush the bathroom water until somebody else is flushing the water in the next bathroom. So when we came out, we found the news about our family right the same night. We were completely skeleton. When I came out, I was 65 pounds.
You lost almost half your weight.
Half of my body.
And you didn't start off, very heavy.
Yeah, I was skinny before. So when they came out, we are all skeletons. The first night we find out the news, everyone was crazy, just crying and losing it. And we separated that way. We never even got to know each other's names. And yet we spent these 3 months on the top of each other.
Right.
Yeah, so we meet now. When I go there, we meet, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Now I have Bernice. Hello, Bernice.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, where are you from?
I'm from Gulfport, Mississippi.
Great. And what's your question?
My question is for Immaculee. I want to know the man that hid her and her friends in the bathroom all that time. His tribe, was his tribe Tutsi or Hutu? And also, was he a Christian?
Good question. So the man who hid us was a Protestant pastor.
So he's a Protestant pastor.
Pastor. His wife have died, and he had 10 children, so he was a pastor. What was the other part of the question?
Well, he asked if he was Hutu or Tutsi.
Oh, he was Hutu. No one Tutsi was allowed to walk in peace outside. So they were killing every Tutsi. And like I said, Hutus, the government and people they have inspired to kill. They were killing in the name of Hutu, but not every Hutu was killing.
Right,
so,
right. This was not, again, he was a good, decent Christian man.
Exactly.
Who hid you because of his Christian love.
Yes, that's it. And he died actually 3 years ago.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he died. But he died and he was a hero by then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because things changed in Rwanda. Now the country is peaceful.
Yeah.
Actually, I do take people to visit the country.
Do you? You take groups over there?
Yeah, to the Shrine of Our Lady.
Sure.
I mean, to be able to serve her is beautiful.
Sure.
Especially she asked. She said, bring people here. Teach my children to love me and to remind them that I love them.
Yes.
So she's just beautiful mom.
Yeah. No, Sean, I'd like to go back to you. We haven't talked to you too much, but you've been to Rwanda, obviously, to make this documentary. And as someone who comes to Rwanda from far away, from another continent, another culture, what was your sense of being in Rwanda in the aftermath of all this?
Before I went, I was a little bit scared. It was almost a leap of faith. I didn't really know anybody there. I had not met Immaculee yet. I told a couple people I was going to Rwanda, and they almost wanted to keep me back, not even let me go. I have a wife and kids. So anyway, I got there, and it didn't take me long to realize the people are absolutely beautiful. They're so warm, so friendly, and it's so hard to imagine what happened there after you get to know the people. Within an hour off the plane, you don't feel scared at all. It's one of the most peaceful countries in Africa now. I often think about Our Lady gave a warning during the apparitions, but she also gave a recipe for reconciliation in the same way. So I see Our Lady's messages coming to fruition just in the lives of the people. You know, nowadays you ask anybody, are you a Hutu or a Tutsi? And even if they had the worst thing happen to them during the genocide, they just say, we're all just Rwandan now. They don't identify anymore with the tribes. It's a beautiful thing. You can go and have dinner at the Hotel Rwanda, for example, that everybody has probably seen on TV.
Yes, I saw that movie.
I mean, the whole country is thriving, and going to Kibeho, it's very simple. There aren't any real stores. There's only a few beds to sleep in. It's very primitive, but there's a priest there, Father Leshek, who's a friend of ours, and he's built a really nice little center, Divine Mercy Center, which the audience will see in the video later. It's one of the only places to sleep there, but the feeling of peace on top of this mountain in Kibeho, it's just palpable. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful place. You can really feel it in your heart.
Yeah, Father Leszek is from Poland, and I saw that he had other Polish priests there as well. It's an interesting mission for somebody from Northern Europe, Northeastern Europe, to come to Rwanda, but they seem to be bringing an apparition from Poland of the Divine Mercy of Jesus to be with the Blessed Mother, you know, and then seeing the two together.
Oh, we have in Rwanda, in Kibeho, the biggest statue in the world of bronze of Divine Mercy, where Father Leshek have built a beautiful center. So in Rwanda, they honor Divine Mercy, Jesus' Divine Mercy. They really honor in such a true way that it is your mercy that even have our country resurrected from the genocide, because it was completely destroyed. Yeah. So we have people like holding on his foot and throughout the day.
Well, that's
the
great.
Faith is amazing there. Yeah. The masses will go on for 4 hours. It was a challenge to film. Sometimes I'd run out of tape pretty often because the people would want to just sing for hours before and after Mass. And the singing just, you know, it kind of lifts you up. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And that's really one thing, like you know, have to have lived there, to be here. In America, there's such a great faith. But when you go, like I remember what I have seen growing up, there's such a simplicity of really counting on God with such a simplicity. And I think there is a way of learning from each other. You know, here we have everything, but you know, it's like one of the message Our Lady used to tell us in the Kibeho, she said, if you knew how you are poor, you will learn to beg God like beggars beg for money. When they are begging for $1, they are humble. They don't go and say, hey, look what I have done and now you're not giving me. Or, you know, how come this is happening to me? They beg, please, if you give them or not, they say, God bless you. They said, you should learn from them. That's how we should pray to God. We are very poor in our sins. Sure. So to pray with humility. Our Lady she taught us so much.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
You know what, I also was struck by a comment you had made earlier today, that in the West, there were certain folks who expressed greater concern for the 600 guerrillas, because Rwanda is the home of the Highland gorilla, correct?
Yes.
And that's where
famous,
it's just one of the few places that they live in the world, in the wild. Yeah. And people were more worried about the 600 gorillas than about the 1 million people who were killed.
I know.
And we have to have our values, you know, on the love of human beings. Now, again, we want to protect the gorillas and the other rare, you know, endangered species and all that, to be sure. But the dignity of human beings, because they're children of God, made in His image and likeness, that's the focus we need to have and stir up within us.
That's so true. You know, another thing I love Our Lady because I feel like she's a mother who teaches you by hand, at least from what I have seen in the Kibeho. It is really all about love. And once the seed of love is growing in your heart, you act with love outside. And that's something we must pray for. She used to say, my children, pray with sincerity. And she would say, if you don't have sincerity, ask God. He will give it to you. And she would say, have love, my children. I want you to act with love in everything you do, true love. And then she would say, pray for love, pray for humility. So in a way, I think even in our prayers, I think we need to relate to God, really realizing who He is, and pray for what we need, all these values, principles that we should have in our hearts. Yeah.
That's where the role of grace comes in.
Yeah.
I just want to remind you that we are going to have the world premiere of public premiere of If Only We Had Listened, and also that video, as well as Immaculee's book, Our Lady of Kibeho, is available at Religious Catalog, 1-800-854-6316, or www.ewtnreligiouscatalog.com. I want to thank you both, and I want to give you all a blessing. May Almighty God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. And we can bring you Immaculee and all these other guests, and Sean, because you keep this network going. Keep us in between your gas bill and electric bill. We'll pay our bills. Thank you.